are things we know we were born to do, but there are things we stumbled into because certain people rejected them. Because when you reject the purposes of God, it doesn't mean that he's going to stop working. He will look for a man who is available. And let me tell you something. There are people in the world every day praying as available men. There are people fasting as available men. That's why I charge you by God, always pray as an available person. Always fast as an available person. Live with a consciousness of availability to God. For you to always carry that understanding and mind that if God is looking for a man who has refused to do something, I am available, God, I will do it. If you give me the grace. Let me tell you, some people Catherine Kuhlman always said, and I quote, I was the Lord's handmaid. Because God appeared to Catherine and told her, you were not my choice, Catherine. 3 men I looked for. God told Reinhard Bonnke he was not his choice. He had called 4 men, and he told Reinhard Bonnke, if you don't do it, Reinhard, I will look for another man. But the urgency that I have to revive that continent, Africa, I'm looking for a man. Reinhard told God, take me. So there are places, by reason of experiences, God is just looking for a man or woman to say yes. It won't take how qualified you are, how educated you are. And that's why I say the simplicity is key. And one day I wish I had time to really dig this deep. Because some of you think it's intellectual, it's how philosophical you are, it's how elaborate you are, it's how, you know, how a good person you are, how a this and that person you are. And no. God is looking for a certain heart. He's not looking at how eloquent you can be. He's not looking at how many credentials or curriculum vitae you have collected over there. No, there's a certain heart he's looking for, a certain availability he's looking for. That is why, look at his selection. It only takes so much sense for you to doubt that this is just not the pattern of God. Look at the men he chose. The Pharisees were educated. The Sadducees were educated. The scribes were educated. They knew the books. They knew the law. They were stewards of the mysteries. They kept the oracles. They knew the back and front. They knew the principles. You almost thought he would have looked for a man who had a clue, who had a certain starting point to say, let me use this one. But he looked for fishermen, men who didn't go to school, who carried no education, which were indifferent, mad and crazy. And he said, these are the ones I'm going to use, because I'm not looking at their title, I'm not looking at their education, I don't even care which family they were born, whether they were a bastard or not, whether their mother Greece or not, whether they were I'm just looking for a certain person, and this fisherman is the right one. That's how God works. That's how God works. So never disqualify yourself to think that because God have messed up, I don't deserve. No, even in your most disqualified nature, he's not looking at how much you've failed or how much you've succeeded. He's saying, is your heart still palatable? Are you still broken enough? Are you still bent to listen to me? If you can give me your heart, yes, you've lost 20 years, you've lost 30 years in this madness, but you can give me 2 years and say, God, now you have my attention. And I'll tell you something, there's a work to do. For the harvest will always be plenteous. The laborers have always been few. I'm not saying there are no laborers, but the true laborers are few. I'm not saying there are no workers. I'm only saying the laborers are few. I'm not saying there are no worshippers. I'm saying the real worshippers are few. I'm not saying there are no teachers. I'm saying the real teachers are few. I'm not saying there are no prophets. I'm saying the real prophets are few. I'm not saying there are no apostles. I'm saying the real apostles are few. Experiences. But you must create that time. The discipline you have had to even say, every Sunday I'm in church, every Thursday I'm in church. It takes a lot of discipline. Because perhaps the person sitting next to you doesn't have that time for God. And those are the same people who are struggling to discover God's plan for their lives. A man who is available in the courts, always available to God, will hear when the need is alarmed. When the trumpet is blown, they pick it. They pick it. And I can study my life and the few men whom I honor, prophets, teachers, evangelists, some of whom I know well. And I can see that clear pattern of experiences that always throw them in the next phase of ministry. Experiences that always throw them in the next phase of ministry. He says, the race is not to the swift, neither the battle to the strong, nor yet bread to the wise, riches to men of understanding, favor to men of skill, but ait. The word there for time is ait, time, experiences, and chance happens to them all. That you might not be the fastest runner, but you might be the available one and win. You might not be the most swift minister, but you might be the available one and win. You might not be the most wise person or the richest, but you might be the available one. Always be available for God.